If I was in the market today for a 24-105 Canon lens, would I get the RF lens or the EF lens version 2? Both of these are on the market now. You can get them used as well. And let's say you have an RF camera, because you would need an RF camera in this situation if you're going to use an RF lens. So this is an R5. And in this video, I'm going to talk about reasons why you may want the EF version instead of the RF version. If you primarily use your RF camera for stills and very rarely video, then you just want to get the RF 24-105. This is an excellent travel lens. It's pretty small for the length that this is. It's an f4, and compared to the EF version, it weighs less and it's smaller, as you can tell here. It's slightly smaller. And because when it's on an RF lens, if you're going to use an EF to the RF, you need to have an adapter. That's going to make this even bigger. So that's why if you're just doing it for stills photography and you like to travel, you want something to travel with, I highly recommend the 24-105 f4. It's the lightest, it's really versatile, you can get a lot of different angles, and you have that third programmable ring here that you don't on the EF. So straight stills photography on an RF camera, 24-105 RF lens. Now, if you do a lot of video and/or you have other camera systems, then I would consider getting the EF lens. When it comes to price, I think they're very close. You could probably find the EF versions for cheaper, but this is the 24-105. There's so many of these lenses, these RF lenses out there, that I think you could find it for a decent price used. So price isn't that big of a deal, I think, in comparing these two. So if you shoot a lot of video or you have other camera systems, consider the EF, and here is why. With the EF lens, if you want to use it on an RF, you got to get the adapter. Here's their standard EF to R adapter, and it's about $100. I've seen them used for maybe $80 at the very least, but you're looking at $100, and you slap that on, and you can use it on your RF camera systems, Canon cameras. But if you do video and you're outdoors, this is a great lens to shoot outdoors with. In bright sunlight at the beach or on a hiking trip. This is a good lens, very versatile lens. And you need ND filters, very ND filters when you're out and about. And you can get screw-on filters, which is fine, but Canon offers a great solution for this type of shooting. And they sell their own EF to RF adapter that has a built-in variable ND filter wheel. And this covers all your bases when you're outdoors, so you don't need anything more than this. And what you do is use this as your adapter, and not only are you able to connect it to your RF cameras, but you get very ND. So you don't have to worry about screwing it on the front. And I haven't noticed a color shift or anything like that. It's very high quality that you pay for. This adapter with the very ND is about $400, so you do pay extra for it, but if you find the 24-105 version 2 used, you could maybe get a good deal and get this for about the same price as the RF brand new. So that's one reason. The next reason to get the EF is if you have other camera systems, or if you have other Canon cameras that are EF. So if you have a 5D Mark IV, a 70D, 80D, 90D, those EF cameras, then yeah, you want to get this one because it's gonna match that. It's gonna match that mount, so you can use one lens for multiple camera systems in the Canon camera lineup in the family. But let's say you have other camera systems from other manufacturers, such as a Sony or a Panasonic, in my case. And they have adapters for it. There's third-party adapters that you can buy. For the Panasonic, this is a very common one. This is the Metabone Speed Booster EF to MFT. This is a 0.64 version that was made specifically for the GH5 because it increases the field of view. So you can get your EF lens here. Put it on the adapter. And you don't get the equivalent of a full frame 24 to 105, but look at that. You can now use one lens on a different system, like so. With the continuous autofocus, I believe it doesn't work. When I've tried it, it does not. Continuous autofocus doesn't work. You can do one autofocus, or you have to manually focus. But the image stabilization seems to work. And you have electronic control of the camera with the Metabone Speed Booster. And then with the Sony, there's other adapters for this. There's a few adapters you can get, but I have the Sigma version. So this is the EF to E mount, and this is a Sony a6600. So I put the a6600 on here. It's not a speed booster, so the focal range isn't 24 to 105. It's the whatever the crop sensor multiplication factor is. But here you go. And this adapter as well, it doesn't do continuous autofocus in video, but in stills it does. So you have autofocus in stills. And also with the Panasonic Metabone Speed. If you take stills with the Panasonic, I know a lot of people don't use these Panasonic GH5s for still photography. They use it for video. But if you have other Panasonic stills more on that side, like the G9, you can use that as an adapting your EF lenses for still photography. But for Sony, a lot of people have Sony cameras now, and this one lens can work both ways for the Sony and your Canon glass, and you have this is just really good glass, even at f4. So those are two reasons why I would consider the EF over the RF lens if you have those two situations, or both like me. I have both those situations. I also used to have a 5D Mark IV, which I sold, and but if I still had an EF camera, I would definitely get the EF lens. There's no reason why I would get an RF lens and have basically the same 24 to 105 lens and just for just one camera. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense that I get one lens and use that lens across all the cameras with adapters. One of the drawbacks, however, using the EF lens with the adapter is the size and the weight. As you can see here, this is the this is the R5, and this is the adapter with the very ND wheel in there with the lens hood, but this is pretty big. This is massive in comparison to a lot of other lens combinations. Heavy and massive. If you're doing documentary work where you're splitting between stills and video, almost 50-50, and it's more on the video side, I can see this being worth the weight, the size weight, not the waiting for it to buy it. But as far as the weight goes, I think it's a compromise that you'll have to make. So you get a microphone on here, I'm imagining, if you want good sound, if you're doing a documentary or run and gun. And then this is outdoors. Of course, if you're indoors, the very ND doesn't really help you that much with an f4 lens. But here you go. Here's the size. It's pretty big. And just for comparison, here's the RF lens with the hoods. You can see it's much longer in length, especially when I extend the barrels. Here they're fully extended. So once you have that adapter on there, it's much taller, much longer, and heavier. But with the RF, pop that on, and I think this is the perfect size lens for the R5. Now I'm going to show some test footage shooting on the R5 using the EF lens and then the RF lens. Here's the 24 to 105 RF lens on the Canon R5. Shooting at 24p. Picture profile is a Lightform N, ISO 100, 1/50th shutter speed, daylight preset white balance, auto focus, but because I have no ND filters, I'm at an f11 right now. Doing some more test shots. This is the EF 24-105 EF version 2, but now I have a drop-in filter, the EF to R mount adapter with the Vari ND filter, and I have the Vari ND turned up, and I'm shooting at f4 now. So I'm able to control my exposure a lot better, and I think I'm getting a much more cinematic look when I have this ND filter on. I don't have the lens hood on, so that's why I think I'm getting kind of bad lens flare.